In a pack where the wolf is everything, Lyra was a null. No fur, no fangs, no shift. On her 18th birthday, while her friends became legends, Lyra was branded with the Crescent of Shame and cast into the dirt. They mocked her. They called her Wolfless. They thought she was a mistake the pack needed to erase. But they forgot one thing. The moon doesn't just belong to the wolves, and tonight, the moon is going to answer her cry. This isn't a story about a girl who found her wolf. This is a story about a girl who discovered she was the moon's only daughter. Get ready, because the tide is about to turn. This is a werewolf shifter romance, specially written for you. Prologue. The air on the peak of ascension is freezing, but the heat of 100 shifting bodies makes the atmosphere feel like a furnace. You stand in the center of the ritual circle, your heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. Tonight is the full hunter's moon. Tonight, you should finally join your brothers and sisters. Shift, Lyra! Your father, the beta of the pack, hisses from the sidelines. His eyes are full of a desperate, pleading hope. You close your eyes. You reach deep into your soul, searching for the spark, the growl, the primal pull of the beast. But there is only silence, a vast, echoing void where a wolf should be. One by one, the other teenagers begin to change. Bones snap and reform, fur erupts from skin, human gasps turn into guttural, triumphant howls. The scent of musk and power fills the air. Soon, you are the only one left standing on two legs. You are a small, shivering human girl in a circle of towering, majestic predators. The High Priestess, a woman with eyes as cold as glacier ice, steps forward. The moonlight reflects off the silver dagger in her hand. The celebratory howls of the pack die down, replaced by a low, mocking growl that ripples through the crowd. The moon has looked upon you, Lyra, the priestess says, her voice echoing off the stone walls. And the moon has turned away. You are wolfless, a hollow vessel, a parasite on the strength of the stone claw. Your mother turns her head away, unable to look at you. Your father's face hardens into stone. The shame is a physical weight, heavier than the mountain itself. According to the law of the fang, the priestess continues, the wolfless shall not hunt, they shall not lead, they shall serve as scavengers, eating the scraps of the worthy until the goddess takes back the life she wasted. She lunges forward. You don't flinch as the silver blade bites into the skin of your shoulder. The pain is searing, but it's nothing compared to the agony in your heart. She carves the Crescent of Shame, a jagged, inverted moon, into your flesh. Go to the pits, scavenger, she spits. As you stumble down the mountain, chased by the laughter of those you once called friends, you look up at the moon. It looks different tonight. It doesn't look cold. It looks waiting. You don't know it yet, but the reason you have no wolf is because a wolf is a cage, and your spirit was never meant to be locked in a cage of flesh. Welcome back to Lily's Heart Tales, where we uncover the most powerful secrets of the supernatural world. If you love stories of epic transformations and the ultimate revenge of the underdog, you are in the right place. In a pack where your wolf defines your worth, Lyra was born a null. No fur, no fangs, and on her 18th birthday, no shift. While her peers celebrated, Lyra was branded with the Crescent of Shame and cast into the pits to serve as a scavenger. They mocked her as wolfless. They thought she was a broken mistake. But what they didn't realize is that some souls are too big for a wolf's body. Some souls were made to command the stars. Before we dive into Lyra's incredible journey, I have a question for you. If you were in Lyra's shoes and the world turned its back on you, would you seek revenge, or would you rise above it all? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love reading your hearts. And if you're new to the channel, don't let the moon set on you. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to join our growing family. Now, let's witness the moment the moon finally answered her cry. Chapter 1. Life as a scavenger is a slow death of the spirit. Your days are spent doing the work the lowest-ranking Omega refuses to touch. You wash the blood from the warrior's pelts after a hunt. You carry heavy water skins until your back screams. You eat the gristle and bone left over from the Alpha's feast. "Careful, Null," snarls Lyra, the Alpha's daughter, as she purposely trips you in the mud. You are carrying a basket of wet laundry, and it scatters into the dirt. You wouldn't want to get the shame on the clean clothes. Oh, wait, you already are the shame. Her friends laugh, a sound sharper than any claw. You don't look up. You've learned that eye contact is an invitation for more pain. You simply begin to gather the muddy clothes, your fingers raw and blue from the mountain cold. That night, the hunger in your stomach is a dull ache, but the hunger in your heart is a screaming void. You escape the sheds and climb the Weeping Ridge, a cliffside that overlooks the entire valley. Below, you see the warm orange glow of the pack fires. You hear the joyful howls of the shift celebration. You are only a few hundred yards away, yet you might as well be on another planet. You collapse onto your knees, the jagged rocks cutting into your skin. You don't pray to the ancestors. They clearly didn't want you. You don't pray to the great wolf. He never answered your call. Instead, you look at the moon. It is a thin, silver sliver tonight, looking just as fragile and discarded as you feel. "Why?" you whisper, your voice cracking. "If I wasn't meant to be one of them, then what am I? If I have no wolf, then why do I feel the tide pulling at my blood? Why am I alive?" You reach out a trembling hand toward the sky, as if you could touch the silver glow. "If you can hear me," you sob, "don't give me a wolf. I don't want their fangs. I don't want their cruelty. Just give me a reason to breathe." Suddenly, the air around you grows unnaturally still. The wind stops its howling. The crickets go silent. A soft, cool light begins to emanate from the very pores of your skin. It isn't the golden heat of a shifter's power. It is the pale, iridescent shimmer of a pearl. In the silence of your mind, a new sense awakens. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your spirit. You see a glowing, translucent silver thread stretching from the center of your chest, rising higher and higher until it connects directly to the crescent moon above. The thread hums. A vibration travels down the cord, hitting your heart with the force of a tidal wave. It isn't pain. It's belonging. For the first time in 18 years, the void in your soul isn't empty. It is filled with the cold, ancient, and infinite power of the stars. The peace of the ridge is shattered by the sound of crunching gravel and mocking laughter. You don't need to turn around to know who it is. The scent of wet fur and arrogance precedes them. Lyra and 3 of her followers have followed you, their eyes glowing with the amber light of their wolves. "Talking to the sky again, Null?" Lyra sneers, stepping into the moonlight. "Maybe you're hoping the moon will drop down and give you a tail, but look at you, still just a hairless, pathetic human." She gestures to her friends. They begin to circle you, their bodies shifting partially, claws extending, teeth lengthening. They want to play with their prey before the night ends. "Kneel," Lyra commands, her voice laced with alpha blood authority. "Apologize for being a stain on our territory, and maybe I won't let the boys use you for tracking practice tonight." Normally, your knees would buckle. Normally, you would cry. But tonight, the silver thread is humming a different tune, a defensive, protective melody. You feel the moisture in the night air, the heavy mountain mist, responding to you. "No," you say. The word is quiet, but it carries a weight that stops them in their tracks. Lyra snarls, lunging at you with her claws out. But as she moves, you instinctively pull on the thread. You don't reach for a weapon, you reach for the light. Suddenly, the moonlight around you thickens. It's no longer just a glow, it becomes a silver veil. The mist from the valley floor rises in a sudden, violent swirl, wrapping around you like a cocoon of frozen starlight. Lyra hits the veil and is instantly repelled, thrown back as if she hit a wall of solid ice. She gasps, her claws stinging from the contact. To her eyes, you have vanished. In your place is a shimmering, iridescent fog that blinds and disorients. "Where is she?" one of the boys yells, swinging wildly at the mist. You are standing right in front of them, but to them, you are a ghost. You discover that by weaving the lunar light, you can bend the vision of those around you. You take a step back, moving with a weightlessness that makes your footsteps silent. "I am not a stain." Your voice echoes through the mist, sounding like it's coming from everywhere at once. "And I am no longer yours to hunt." You realize you can do more than just hide. You focus on the moisture on the grass at their feet. With a flick of your fingers, you freeze the lunar energy within the dew. The ground beneath the bullies turns into a sheet of frictionless glass. They slip and tumble, their wolfish coordination useless against the celestial ice. Terrified and confused by a power they cannot smell or bite, the bullies scramble away, fleeing back toward the village. The veil fades, leaving you alone on the ridge. You are exhausted, your skin tingling with the residue of the starlight. You look down at the Crescent of Shame on your shoulder. It is no longer a dull scar. It is glowing with a soft, pearlescent white light. The pack thinks you are wolfless. They think you are empty. They have no idea that the moon has just filled you with the power of the tides. Chapter 2. In the weeks that follow, you live a double life. By day, you are the invisible scavenger, the girl who keeps her head down and accepts the scraps thrown her way. But by night, when the pack sleeps and the moon reigns supreme, you become a student of the cosmos. You discover that your power changes with the moon's phases. During the waxing crescent, your energy is sharp and focused, like a needle of light. As it grows toward full, your strength becomes a crushing weight, capable of pinning a boulder to the ground. You practice in the Crystal Basin, a hidden pool deep in the woods where the water is so still it acts like a mirror. You learn that you don't just manipulate light, you command fluidity. You stand at the edge of the water and reach out. You don't splash the water, you lift it. A sphere of liquid, the size of a mountain lion, rises from the basin, suspended in the air by your silver threads. You realize that because the moon controls the tides of the oceans, you control the tides within every living thing. "Move," you whisper. The water twists into a whip, then a shield, then 1,000 tiny needles. You are learning to fight without ever touching your enemy. But the most startling discovery comes when you realize that the moonlight is a network. Every member of the pack who stands under the night sky is connected to it. By touching the silver threads that fall upon them, you can hear the resonance of their souls. You sit in the shadows of the village one evening and close your eyes. You tune in to the moonlight hitting the Alpha's house. You feel the cold, jagged ambition of Lyra. You feel the heavy, ironclad guilt of your father. And then you feel something else, a dark, oily vibration coming from the northern border. It's the sensation of shadows eating light. Someone is coming. Someone who doesn't use the moon, but hides from it. The Shadow Stalkers, a pack of nomadic assassins who move only during the darkest hours, are encroaching on your territory. The pack warriors are oblivious, their senses tuned only to the physical world. They can't smell the void, they can't see the threads being cut. You realize that your pack, the people who threw you away, are walking into a trap. And you are the only one with the eyes to see it. You stand at the edge of the village, hidden by the long shadows of the grain silos. Through the silver threads, you can feel them. 6 assassins, moving with supernatural silence. They are using void charcoal on their fur to dampen their scent and absorb the light. To your pack's sentries, they are invisible. You look toward the Alpha's longhouse. You could run there. You could scream. But you know what would happen. They would see a wolfless girl babbling about shadows and lunar threads. They would laugh while the blades reached for their throats. "I won't save them, because they deserve it," you whisper, your fingers twitching as the silver light begins to pool in your palms. "I'll save them, because I am the only one who can." You don't engage them head on. Instead, you use the moon to hijack their senses. You reach out to the threads hitting the forest floor and tilt the light. As the lead shadow stalker approaches the sentry post, you create a lunar mirage. To the assassin, the path forward looks clear, but in reality, he is walking straight toward a steep, jagged ravine. He takes a confident step and tumbles, his muffled cry swallowed by the mountain wind. 1 down, 5 to go. The remaining assassins realize something is wrong. They cluster together, back to back. One of them, a massive brute with a scarred eye, pulls out an eclipse stone, a rare mineral that sucks the light out of the air in a 10-foot radius. A dome of absolute darkness forms around them. Your silver threads snap where they hit the dome. You are suddenly blind to them. "Find the caster!" the brute growls. He knows now that this isn't a natural occurrence. He knows there is a lunar user nearby. You feel the cold fear of being hunted again, but this time you have the tide on your side. You remember the moisture in the air. You don't need to see them if you can make them see you. You focus all your energy on the fog. You don't just create a veil, you create a living mist. You shape the fog into the silhouette of a massive, glowing white wolf, a moon beast. The assassins see the glowing beast through the trees and panic. They unleash their poisoned crossbow bolts, but the projectiles pass harmlessly through the mist. While they are distracted by your phantom, you move behind them. You touch the ground, sending a pulse of lunar gravity upward. The eclipse stone is wrenched from the leader's hand, flying high into the night sky where it can no longer dampen the light. With the darkness gone, the moonlight returns with a vengeance. You flash the threads, creating a burst of radiance so bright it temporarily sears the retinas of the shadow stalkers. They flee, stumbling and screaming, convinced that the great wolf goddess herself has descended to protect the pack. You stand in the silence, your chest heaving. You saved them, and they don't even know it. But as you turn to slip back into your shed, you see a figure standing in the doorway. It's your father. His eyes are wide, and he's looking not at you, but at your hands, which are still dripping with iridescent silver light. Chapter 3. The silence stretches until it's almost painful. You expect him to shout, to call the high priestess, or to recoil in fear. Instead, your father, the beta who stood by while you were branded, falls to his knees. His shoulders shake, not with terror, but with a sudden crushing grief. "It's happened," he whispers, his voice thick with emotion. "I prayed the blood would stay dormant in you. I prayed you could just be a normal girl, even if it meant being a servant." "Normal?" you echo, the silver light on your hands fading as your heartbeat quickens. "You watched them carve a mark of shame into me. You let them call me Wolfless, because the truth is more dangerous than the lie, Lyra," he says, finally looking up. His eyes are red-rimmed. "You aren't wolfless because you are a null. You are wolfless because your mother wasn't a shifter at all. She was a Selene-Born, the last of a bloodline that guarded the moon temple before the great cleansing." He reaches into his tunic and pulls out a small, weathered locket made of white gold. He opens it to reveal a portrait of a woman who looks exactly like you, but her eyes are a constant, glowing silver. "The wolves didn't join the moon temple. They conquered it," your father explains, his voice dropping to a cautious murmur. "They feared the Selene-Born's ability to control the tides of the soul. When your mother died, the Alpha made me swear to hide your heritage. If the High Priestess knew you could weave the threads, she wouldn't just shame you, she would sacrifice you to take that power for herself." You stare at the portrait. All your life, you thought you were a broken wolf. Now you realize you are the descendant of the wolves' own gods. "The shadow stalkers I saw tonight," you begin, but your father cuts you off, his face turning pale. "They aren't just nomadic assassins, Lyra. They are the hounds of the eclipse. They have been hunting the last of the Selene-Born for centuries. If they felt you use your power tonight, they won't stop until they've drained the light from your veins." Suddenly, a horn blasts from the center of the village. It's the emergency clarion. "The border!" Your father gasps, standing up and shifting partially, his wolf ears twitching. The shadow stalkers didn't retreat. They were just the scouts. A blood eclipse is coming tomorrow night, Lyra. The moon will turn red, and the wolves will lose their strength. That is when they will strike with their full army. He grabs your hands, his rough, calloused palms meeting your glowing skin. You have 24 hours to master the tide, or this pack will become a graveyard. There is a place, your father says, his voice urgent as the village outside erupts into chaotic preparation. Beneath the Blackwater Lake. It was the heart of the Selene-Born. If any records of the great weaving remain, they are there. You slip away into the night, moving not like a wolf, but like a shadow cast by the moon. You reach the Blackwater Lake, a vast, ink-colored expanse that the pack avoids, claiming it is haunted. To you, the water doesn't feel haunted, it feels heavy. As you stand on the shore, you see the moon reflecting on the surface. You realize the lake isn't just water, it's a giant lens. You don't dive in. Instead, you reach for the silver thread in your chest and pull. You command the tide of the lake to part. The water groans, resisting at first, then peels back in two massive, shimmering walls. In the muddy center of the lake bed, a spire of white marble rises. This is the sunken moon temple. As you descend the muddy slope, the air becomes sweet with the scent of jasmine and ancient starlight. Inside the temple, the walls are covered in living murals, paintings made of liquid silver that move when you look at them. You see the history of your people. They didn't just command the light, they were the jailers of the void. You reach the central altar, where a basin of pure lunar mercury sits. A voice, ancient and melodic, echoes through the chamber. The blood is thin, but the spirit is bright. To lead the pack through the red night, the oracle must offer her shame to the moon. You understand. You peel back the rags on your shoulder, exposing the crescent of shame. You press the jagged scar against the cool, silver mercury of the altar. The pain is transformative. The silver mercury flows into the scar, filling the grooves carved by the high priestess. The jagged mark doesn't disappear. It evolves. It grows silver wings, turning from a brand of shame into the seal of the oracle. Suddenly your mind is flooded with the final weaving, the secret to stopping a blood eclipse. You realize that you don't fight the darkness with light. You absorb the darkness and filter it through your soul. But as you emerge from the temple, the sky is already beginning to bruise. The first hint of rust red is creeping onto the edge of the moon. The blood eclipse has begun early. From the woods around the lake, dozens of glowing red eyes emerge. The shadow stalkers didn't wait for the village. They followed you. They knew only a Selene-Born could open the temple. The oracle has opened the door, a rasping voice says from the trees. Now, we take the key. Chapter 4. The shadow stalkers emerge from the tree line. These aren't the scouts you faced before. These are the Blood Guard, massive, gray-furred warriors draped in armor made of bone and obsidian. Their eyes don't glow amber. They glow a hateful, hungry crimson. The Selene-Born are myth, the lead warrior rumbles, his voice sounding like grinding stones. You are just a girl playing with shadows. Give us the temple's heart, and we might let you die quickly. I am the moon's answer, you say, your voice resonating with the power of the sunken temple. And the answer is no. The Blood Guard lunges. Because of the eclipse, their speed is doubled, fueled by the chaotic energy of the red moon. But you are no longer limited to simple shields. You reach out to the two walls of water you held back to enter the temple. Instead of letting them fall, you freeze them, not into ice, but into solid moonlight. The water turns into 1,000 floating blades of silver glass. With a sweep of your arm, you send the lunar blades whistling through the air. The shadow stalkers try to dodge, but the blades are guided by the silver threads of their own heartbeats. The obsidian armor of the invaders shatters like porcelain. "She's draining the lake!" one of them screams. You aren't just using the water, you are using the tide in their veins. You clench your fist, and the lead warrior stops mid-air. You aren't touching his fur, you are grabbing the lunar energy within his blood and locking it. He falls to the muddy lakebed, paralyzed by his own internal tides. But the leader of the Blood Guard, a monstrous wolf named Khazar, pulls out a eclipse staff. He slams it into the mud, and a wave of crimson energy erupts, shattering your silver blades. The red light of the eclipse begins to choke your power, turning your pearlescent glow into a dull gray. The moon is bleeding, Oracle. Khazar laughs, his claws lengthening to the size of daggers, and as it bleeds, so do you. The red light of the eclipse hits your seal, and for a moment, the agony returns. It feels like the High Priestess is carving your shoulder all over again. You fall to one knee, the walls of water beginning to tremble and collapse around you. But then, you remember the living murals in the temple. You don't fight the darkness, you filter it. You stop trying to push the red light away. Instead, you open your heart and inhale the eclipse. The copper energy of the blood moon flows into you, turning your silver eyes into a swirling storm of violet and crimson. You aren't just an oracle of the light anymore. You are the oracle of the eclipse. You stand up, your hair whipping in a wind that only you can feel. The moon doesn't just shine, you growl, your voice layered with the echoes of 1,000 Selene-Born. It pulls. Khazar, the leader of the Blood Guard, pauses. He has spent his life hunting the Selene-Born, but he has never seen one do this. "You fool!" he sneers, though his voice wavers. "No mortal can contain the blood moon's rage. It will tear your spirit apart." "Then let it tear," you reply. Your voice is no longer a girl's. It is a resonant, tectonic hum that makes the lakebed vibrate. You thrust both hands outward. You don't just release the walls of water, you infuse them with the eclipse. The two massive towers of lake water turn a deep wine red, swirling with the void energy you just absorbed. "The red tide!" you cry out. The water crashes down, but it doesn't just drown the shadow stalkers. It acts as a spiritual filter. As the red water touches the Blood Guard, it leaches the shadow magic directly out of their bodies. They scream as their obsidian armor dissolves and their red eyes fade to a dull, powerless gray. Khazar tries to raise his eclipse staff to block the wave, but the pressure of the lunar gravity you've summoned is too much. The staff snaps like a dry twig. He is swept away by the current, tossed against the jagged rocks of the shore like a piece of driftwood. The entire valley goes silent as the water settles, leaving the shadow stalkers unconscious and broken in the mud. You stand at the center of the emptied lake, the red energy slowly receding from your veins, leaving you gasping for air. The strain on your wolfless body is immense. Your human heart was never designed to pump celestial fire. As you struggle to your feet, you hear the sound of paws hitting the mud. You look up, expecting more enemies. Instead, you see the Stoneclaw pack. The Alpha, the High Priestess, and Lyra are standing on the shore, their faces frozen in a mask of pure terror. They had come to the lake to investigate the strange lights, expecting to find a monster. Instead, they found the girl they branded as a Null standing over the defeated army of the most feared assassins in the world. "Lyra!" your father's voice calls out from behind them. He steps forward, his eyes full of pride and fear. The High Priestess steps toward you, her silver dagger drawn. "This is heresy!" she shrieks, though her hand is trembling. "She is using the forbidden moon. She is a witch who must be—" "Silence!" The Alpha, a man who hasn't spoken a kind word to you in years, steps in front of the priestess. He looks at the seal of the oracle glowing on your shoulder, then at the defeated Blood Guard, then back at you. He doesn't growl. He doesn't command. For the first time in the pack's history, the Alpha bows. "The moon did not turn away from her," the Alpha says, his voice carrying across the water. "It was waiting for us to be worthy of her." Chapter 5. "Do not be fooled by this scavenger's tricks," the priestess screams, her voice cracking the silence of the lake. "The oracle is a title of purity. This girl has drunk the blood of the eclipse. She is a vessel for the void, and if we do not cut the rot out now, the moon will curse this pack forever. She isn't just shouting, she's desperate. She knows that if you are recognized as the oracle, her power is gone. As the Alpha tries to intervene, the priestess pulls a vial of black moon salt from her robes and smashes it at her own feet. A thick, oily smoke erupts, blinding the wolves around her. Under the cover of the smog, she doesn't run, she lunges at you. You are still drained from the red tide ritual. Your muscles feel like lead, and the violet light in your eyes is flickering. As she reaches you, she doesn't use a wolf's claws. She uses the sacrificial blade of the Founders, a weapon designed to sever the connection between a soul and the moon. "If I cannot be the voice of the goddess," she hisses into your ear as she pins you against the marble altar, "then you will be her sacrifice." The blade descends toward your heart. But she forgot one thing. You aren't just a girl anymore. You are a conductor. Just as the silver tip touches your skin, you don't fight her strength. You reach out to the silver thread still connecting her to the moon, the thin, brittle string of her own fading faith. You don't break it. You overload it. You channel the remaining red eclipse energy directly into her. The priestess screams as the raw, unfiltered power of the blood moon surges through her body. To a Selene-Born, this energy is a tool. To a normal shifter, it is a poison. She is thrown backward, the sacrificial blade shattering into 1,000 pieces. The smoke clears, revealing the priestess slumped against the temple ruins, her eyes wide and blank. She isn't dead, but the moon sight she prized so much is gone. She is truly, permanently wolfless. The Alpha and your father rush toward you, but you wave them back. You look up at the sky. The moon is now a deep, terrifying crimson. The total eclipse has arrived. "The priestess was right about one thing," you say, your voice echoing with an ominous resonance. "The moon is angry, but not at me." A low, vibrating growl begins to shake the very ground of the valley. It's not coming from a wolf. It's coming from the earth itself. The shadow stalkers you defeated were only the beginning. From the ridge above the lake, a gargantuan shadow begins to descend. It is the Shadow King, a creature of myth who only appears when the moon is fully cloaked in blood. He is a wolf the size of a house, his body made of living smoke and red malice. "The pack is not ready," the Alpha whispers, baring his teeth in a hopeless snarl. "No," you say. Standing tall as the seal on your shoulder flares to a brilliant white. "But the oracle is." The Shadow King lets out a roar that shatters the remaining marble pillars of the sunken temple. "The light is dead," he bellows, his voice a chorus of 1,000 tormented souls. The era of the wolf is over. The era of the void begins. You look at your pack. You see a Lyra cowering, the Alpha's eyes full of despair, and your father ready to die just to buy you a few seconds of life. You realize that you cannot win this as a solitary goddess. The Selene-Born didn't just rule the moon, they were the bridge between the celestial and the terrestrial. "Stand up," you command. Your voice doesn't just travel through the air. It travels through the silver threads of every wolf present. "We cannot fight him, Lyra," the Alpha yells over the rising wind. "Our wolves are failing." "That's because you are trying to fight with teeth," you shout back, stepping to the center of the pack. "Tonight, you fight with tides." You plant your feet into the mud of the lakebed and reach out. You don't grab the moonlight this time. You grab the souls of your pack. You initiate the lunar link. Suddenly, every wolf in the Stoneclaw pack feels a surge of cool, stabilizing energy. The blood haze in their minds clears. One by one, their amber eyes turn a brilliant, glowing silver. You are acting as a prism, taking the chaotic red light of the eclipse, filtering it through your oracle seal, and feeding it to them as pure, refined power. "I am the moon," you whisper, the words echoing in the minds of 100 wolves, "and you are my shadows." The pack moves as one. It is no longer a chaotic scramble. It is a symphony of slaughter. When the Shadow King lunges, he doesn't hit a single wolf. The pack moves with your weightlessness, sliding through the air like mist. When they strike, their claws aren't just bone, they are coated in the solid moonlight you saw in the temple. Every bite from a Stoneclaw warrior tears a chunk of living smoke from the Shadow King's body. He screams in confusion, lashed by 100 silver-eyed predators who are all moving with a single divine mind. Your mind. But the Shadow King is ancient. He begins to condense his smoky form, drawing the red light of the eclipse into a single devastating point of energy in his maw. He is preparing a void blast that will vaporize the entire valley. "He's going to fire!" your father screams, pinned down by the pressure of the dark energy. You feel the strain of the link. Maintaining the power for 100 wolves is tearing your human muscles apart. Blood trickles from your nose, and the seal on your shoulder is glowing so bright it begins to smoke. "Hold the line!" you roar, the violet fire in your eyes erupting into a pillar of white light. You don't just filter the light anymore. You reach up and grab the eclipse itself. You prepare to perform the final ritual of the Selene-Born, the Great Stillness. Chapter 6. "You are nothing but a bridge of flesh," the Shadow King roars, the red eclipse light swirling into his mouth. "And bridges are meant to be broken." You don't flinch. You feel the 100 heartbeats of your pack thrumming through your own chest. You realize that the Great Stillness isn't an attack, it's the ultimate command of the tide. You aren't going to push back against the Shadow King, you are going to stop the very atoms of his being. "I am the bridge," you whisper, your voice calm amidst the hurricane. "And I am the shore." You reach out and grasp the silver threads of the world itself. You don't just pull, you freeze. As the Shadow King unleashes his void blast, you trigger the ritual. Time doesn't stop, but the motion of the darkness does. The massive beam of red-black energy freezes in midair, turning into a jagged, harmless sculpture of dark glass. The Shadow King's roar is cut short. His smoky body solidifies into a dull, gray stone. Every atom of his malevolence is locked in place by the absolute weight of the moon's gravity. The pack watches in stunned silence as the most powerful entity they've ever known is turned into a silent monument. But the cost is immediate. The white light in your eyes shatters. The lunar link snaps, and 100 wolves fall to the ground, exhausted but alive. You collapse. The silver light recedes from your skin, leaving you cold and pale in the mud of the lake bed. The total eclipse begins to pass, the red shadow sliding away to reveal the pure, white face of the moon once more. "Lyra!" Your father reaches you first, sliding through the mud to gather you into his arms. Behind him, the Alpha and Lyra approach slowly. There is no mocking now. There is only a deep, trembling reverence. Your breath is shallow. The seal of the oracle on your shoulder has turned from a glowing mark into a silver-white scar that looks like it was etched by the stars themselves. "Is he gone?" you whisper. "He is a statue of salt and shadow," the Alpha says, kneeling beside you. He reaches out, and for the first time, he doesn't touch you as a null or a scavenger. He touches your forehead with the respect given only to a queen. You didn't just save the pack, Lyra. You saved the moon. But as you look at your hands, you notice something. They aren't glowing anymore. You don't feel the silver threads of the pack. The silence in your soul is absolute. "I can't feel it," you murmur, a tear tracking through the mud on your cheek. The moon, it's gone quiet. You have spent all your celestial inheritance in one go. You aren't just wolfless anymore. You are powerless. The pack stands at the edge of the lake, watching you. The High Priestess is gone, her mind broken by the very light she tried to hoard. The Shadow King is a frozen pillar of salt. The threat is over, but the social order of the Stoneclaw pack is in ruins. Lyra, The alpha's daughter, who once tripped you in the mud, steps forward. The pack holds its breath. Will she take this chance to strike down the now powerless Null who put her to shame? She looks at your scarred shoulder, the seal that saved her life. Then she looks at the muddy laundry basket still sitting near the shore from the day before. Without a word, she walks over, picks it up, and carries it toward you. The oracle is tired, Lyra says, her voice loud enough for the entire pack to hear. And no queen of the moon should ever have to wash her own rags again. She drops to one knee. Following her lead, the hardened warriors, the hunters, and even the alpha himself bow. They aren't bowing to your magic anymore. They are bowing to your will. In the weeks that follow, the valley transforms. You don't have your powers back. The moon is silent, recovering from the eclipse, but you have something more permanent. You have their hearts. You move from the scavenger sheds into the high house, but you don't use it for feasts. You turn it into a school. You realize that there are other nulls in the pack, children who haven't shifted, elders whose wolves have faded. Under your guidance, the pack stops being a hierarchy of strength versus weakness. It becomes a circle. You teach them that even without a wolf, a person can have the heart of a mountain. You show the Omegas how to use the lunar herbs you discovered in the temple to heal, rather than just serve. One evening, you stand on the weeping ridge where you first prayed. Your father stands behind you. "Do you regret it, Lyra?" he asks softly. "Giving it all up to save them?" You look at your hands. They are human. They are scarred, but they are steady. "I didn't give it up, Father," you say, looking at the full white moon rising over the trees. "I just planted it. The light isn't in me anymore. It's in all of them." As you speak, you feel a tiny rhythmic pulse in the center of your chest. It's not the roaring tide of the oracle, but a small, persistent spark. The moon isn't gone. She's just waiting for you to grow into the leader you were meant to be without her help. The epilogue. 50 years later. The Stone Claw Pack is now known as the Pack of the Silver Wing. It is the most prosperous and peaceful territory in the north. Shifters and humans live side by side, and the Crescent of Shame has been officially renamed the Mark of the Chosen. A young girl, barely 7 years old, climbs the steps of the great lunar temple. She has been told she is wolfless by a traveling merchant, and she is crying. She reaches the top and sees a statue of a woman holding a bowl of water, her eyes turned toward the sky. Standing beneath the statue is an elderly woman with hair like spun silver and eyes that seem to hold the entire night sky. "Don't cry, little one," the old woman says, her voice like a warm breeze. "The wolves are fast and the wolves are strong, but they are only part of the story." She takes the girl's hand and places it over her heart. "Listen," the old woman whispers. "Can you feel the tide?" The little girl stops crying. She looks up at the moon, and for a fleeting second, a silver thread shimmers in the air between them. The old woman, the girl who was once a scavenger, then an oracle, then a queen, smiles. The moon caller is gone, but the light is eternal.